The abduction. High Admiral Rentak of the Zarketh Collective stood on the bridge of the Void Harvester, his primary hearts swelling with pride as he watched the operation unfold. The human colony of New Horizon lay defenseless below, its minimal orbital defenses already disabled by his fleet's superior technology. His mandibles clicked in satisfaction as the transport ships descended through the atmosphere. "Status report," he commanded, his crystalline exoskeleton reflecting the dim bridge lighting. "Ground teams report success, High Admiral," his second-in-command, Commander Vexley, announced. 37 human offspring secured. No casualties. Their protective facilities offered minimal resistance to our phase-shifting technology. Rentak's secondary hearts quickened at the news. The plan was working perfectly. The collective's research had shown that humans possessed an irrational attachment to their young, making them ideal leverage for resource extraction. New Horizons' rich deuterium deposits would soon belong to the collective. Excellent. These humans are exactly as our intelligence suggested, primitive and predictable. Their emotional weaknesses will serve our purposes well. He turned to his communications officer. "Prepare to broadcast our demands once all teams have returned." The bridge crew worked efficiently, monitoring the extraction teams as they completed their mission. None of them noticed the small quantum fluctuations emanating from the captured children's holding cells, signals that were already racing through subspace toward Earth at impossible speeds. Below on New Horizon, Sarah Martinez watched the alien ships through narrowed eyes. As the colony's security chief, she knew exactly what was happening. And more importantly, what was about to happen. The aliens had triggered Protocol Omega. In her secured bunker beneath the colony's main administrative building, she activated a quantum-encrypted channel to Earth Command. "This is Security Chief Martinez, New Horizon Colony. Confirmation code, Theta 97 Phoenix. They took the bait. I repeat, they took the bait." The response was immediate. "Acknowledged, Security Chief. The Sword of Damocles is now in motion. Stand by for Phase 2. Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. The Zarketh would soon learn why the galaxy's other predatory species had learned to avoid human space. Every child in that colony had been specifically prepared for this possibility since birth. Their neural implants were already gathering intelligence, mapping ship layouts, and identifying vulnerabilities. Above, Rentak remained blissfully unaware that his perfect operation was actually the beginning of his species' worst nightmare. The children they'd taken weren't merely human offspring. They were the latest generation of humanity's living weapons program, designed specifically to attract and destroy those who would prey on human worlds. As the last transport ship docked with the Void Harvester, Rentak prepared to address his fleet. "The humans will soon learn their place in the galaxy's hierarchy," he declared proudly. "Their resources will fuel our expansion, and their offspring will ensure their compliance." Commander Vexley approached with a data tablet. "Sir, our analysts have compiled the colony's response capabilities. They possess no military vessels within 50 light-years. Their communications array has been disabled. They are completely isolated." "Excellent. Once we're safely in hyperspace, transmit our demands. The humans will have no choice but to comply if they wish to see their young again." The Void Harvester's engines hummed to life, its massive form turning gracefully toward deep space. As they prepared to jump to hyperspace, none of the Zarketh noticed that their navigational data had already been subtly corrupted, their destination coordinates shifted by mere fractions that would compound across light years. They were about to jump directly into the waiting arms of humanity's hidden fleet. In her holding cell, young Maya Chen activated her neural implant with a thought. The quantum-encrypted message was brief. "Package delivered. Operation Trojan Horse is go." The Zarketh Collective had just made the last mistake they would ever make as a spacefaring civilization. They had based their entire strategy on ancient data showing humans as primitive, emotional creatures who hadn't yet mastered basic interstellar travel. They hadn't known that humanity had spent the last century deliberately maintaining that facade, waiting patiently for someone to take the bait. The galaxy was about to learn why human space was now marked in ancient warning charts with the simple phrase, "Here be dragons." Awakening the giant, deep within Earth's Titan naval base, hidden beneath the methane seas of Saturn's largest moon, Fleet Admiral Helena Zhang stood before a holographic display of the galaxy. Hundreds of red dots pulsed across the map, each representing a quantum tracker signal from the abducted children. The Zarketh thought they were being clever, jumping between systems to mask their trail. In reality, they were only confirming the effectiveness of humanity's hidden sensor network. "Status report on Operation Trojan Horse," she commanded, her voice carrying the weight of centuries of military tradition. Her eye assistant, Araya, materialized beside her. "The Zarketh fleet is proceeding exactly as predicted, Admiral. They've made 3 random jumps since the abduction, believing they're evading pursuit. Maya Chen's neural feed confirms they're heading toward their primary base in the Maelstrom Nebula." Helena allowed herself a small smile. The Maelstrom Nebula had been under human surveillance for decades, its swirling clouds of ionized gas hiding not just the Zarketh base, but also 17 cloaked human monitoring stations. The enemy's every movement had been watched, catalogued, and analyzed since they first established their presence there. "Begin Phase 2, Helena ordered. "Deploy the Ghost Fleet." Throughout the solar system, massive hangar doors began opening in supposedly abandoned asteroids. Ships that officially didn't exist powered up engines that shouldn't have been possible. Humanity's true military capability, hidden for a century behind a carefully crafted facade of primitive technology, was awakening. The Ghost Fleet represented the pinnacle of human military technology. Ships with quantum-entangled communication arrays that made light speed lag irrelevant. Hulls made of metamaterials that absorbed or redirected all known scanning methods. Weapons that could target specific genetic markers, harmless to humans but devastating to other species. On the bridge of the fleet's flagship, the ESS Nemesis, Captain James Chen watched his crew prepare for battle. Every officer on his ship was a parent, each with a personal stake in humanity's response to those who would dare harm their children. "Status of the neural net?" he asked his tactical officer. "The children's implants are functioning perfectly, sir. We're receiving real-time data on every aspect of the Zarketh ships. Shield frequencies, weapon configurations, crew rotations, everything." Maya's team has already identified 17 critical vulnerabilities in their flagship systems. James nodded, pride mixing with anticipation. His daughter Maya was leading the children's internal resistance, just as she'd been trained to do since birth. The Zarketh thought they'd captured helpless human offspring. Instead, they'd taken aboard an entire company of humanity's most sophisticated infiltration units. In her holding cell aboard the Void Harvester, Maya Chen appeared to sleep peacefully among the other children. In reality, her neural implant was busy corrupting the ship's automated defense systems, inserting subtle errors into targeting algorithms, and mapping every centimeter of the vessel's interior. Through her quantum link, she could sense the Ghost Fleet approaching, ships moving through higher dimensions that the Zarketh's primitive sensors couldn't detect. Her internal clock counted down to the moment of revelation, when humanity would shed its mask of technological inferiority. Back on Titan, Admiral Zhang received confirmation that the Ghost Fleet was in position. "Send the message," she ordered. "Let's show them who they're really dealing with." Throughout the Zarketh fleet, every screen, every console, every communication device simultaneously activated. High Admiral Rentak watched in growing horror as his supposedly secure systems were overridden with ease. A human face appeared before him. Admiral Zhang's expression carved from granite. "You take our children, thinking them weak, believing them helpless." Her voice carried no anger, only the certainty of absolute doom. "That was your first mistake. Allow me to demonstrate your last." As the message played, Maya and the other children received their activation signals. Throughout the Zarketh fleet, carefully orchestrated chaos was about to begin. The galaxy was about to witness why humanity had spent a century preparing for this exact moment. The hunt was on. Children of war. Maya Chen closed her eyes, appearing to tremble in fear as a Zarketh guard passed her holding cell. The moment the crystalline alien moved out of view, her trembling stopped. She reached out through her neural implant, connecting with the other 36 children spread throughout the void harvester. Their responses came instantly, each one a carefully trained operative despite their age. Team Alpha, status. She broadcast through their secure quantum network. Engineering section mapped. Control systems compromised. Ready. The response came from 10-year-old Marcus Wong, who had spent his entire life learning to hack alien technology while appearing to play video games. Team Beta. Weapons control infiltrated. Targeting systems ready for override. Sarah Martinez Jr.'s voice carried the same steel as her mother's, the colony's security chief who had helped orchestrate this trap. Team Gamma. Life support and environmental systems accessed. Waiting for your signal. Raj Patel, age 11, had already inserted dormant commands into every system controlling atmosphere and temperature throughout the ship. Maya allowed herself a small smile. Everything was proceeding exactly as they had trained for. The Zarketh, so proud of their supposedly superior technology, had never considered that their systems might be vulnerable to infiltration by children. After all, what species would train their offspring as warriors from birth? Humanity had learned harsh lessons from its early days of space exploration. Every child in every colony was now prepared for the possibility of abduction. What appeared to be normal education and play was actually comprehensive combat and infiltration training, disguised so well that even the children themselves didn't fully realize what they were learning until they needed it. On the bridge of the Void Harvester, High Admiral Rentak was still reeling from the human transmission. His tactical officers scrambled to make sense of sensor readings that showed impossible energy signatures approaching through dimensions their science had barely theorized. Status of the human offspring, he demanded, his crystalline form reflecting the red alert lights now flashing throughout the bridge. Still secured in their holding cells, High Admiral, Commander Vexley reported. They appear frightened and docile, exactly as expected from primitive young. Maya intercepted this transmission through the ship's internal communications network. Time to show them how primitive we are, she broadcast to her teams. Execute Operation Nightmare. Throughout the massive vessel, 37 children simultaneously activated their neural interfaces at full power. The quantum processors embedded in their minds linked together, forming a distributed supercomputer that began attacking the ship's systems on every level. In engineering, vital power conduits suddenly rerouted, leaving weapons systems starved of energy. In environmental control, atmospheric processors began introducing subtle variations in temperature and pressure, nothing immediately dangerous, but enough to make the crystalline Zarketh increasingly uncomfortable. In the weapons bays, targeting computers accepted new calibration data that would ensure every shot fired would miss by millimeters. Maya stood up in her cell, her quantum link connecting her directly to the ghost fleet approaching through higher dimensions. External defenses compromised, she reported. You have firing solutions for all critical systems. The response came instantly from Admiral Zhang herself. Well done, children. Phase 3 authorize. Show them what humanity's next generation is capable of. Maya's hands moved in practiced patterns, interfacing with the ship's security systems through her neural implant. Throughout the vessel, holding cell doors slid open silently. Children who had appeared weak and frightened stood up, their eyes now holding the focus of trained operatives. Remember your training, Maya broadcast. Non-lethal takedowns only. We're not murderers like them. We're humanity's shield, and today we show the galaxy why you don't target human children. The Zarketh never saw it coming. Teams of children moved through the ship like ghosts, their small size allowing them to access maintenance tunnels and service ducts. Every step, every action had been practiced countless times in simulations disguised as games. High Admiral Rentak first realized something was wrong when the bridge doors sealed themselves, trapping his command staff inside. The environmental controls shifted, making the atmosphere uncomfortably dry for his crystalline species. Every screen on the bridge suddenly displayed the same message, written in flowing human script. You took us because you thought we were weak. We let you take us because we've spent lifetimes preparing for creatures like you. Look around your ship, Admiral. Look at what children you dismissed as primitive have already done to your mighty fleet. And then consider this. We are just the beginning. The real nightmare is still approaching. As if to emphasize her words, Maya triggered the final phase of their internal assault. Throughout the ship, carefully planted viral codes awakened, spreading through the Zarketh's quantum computers like wildfire. Systems began failing in cascading patterns, each failure triggering another in a symphony of chaos orchestrated by children who had been training for this moment since before they could walk. The Void Harvester, pride of the Zarketh fleet, was about to learn why humanity had survived every attempt to subjugate it. They weren't just fighting human children. They were facing the culmination of a century of preparation, the product of a species that had turned its greatest vulnerability into its most potent weapon. The hunt. The Maelstrom Nebula erupted with light, as reality itself seemed to tear open. The Ghost Fleet emerged not from hyperspace, but from dimensions the Zarketh had never even theorized. Ships black as the void between stars, their hulls absorbing all light and sensor readings, appeared simultaneously at strategic points throughout the nebula. Captain James Chen stood on the bridge of the ESS Nemesis, watching tactical displays show his daughter's handiwork aboard the enemy flagship. The Void Harvester's systems were in chaos, its defenses compromised, its crew struggling to understand how mere children had so thoroughly infiltrated their most advanced vessel. All ships, this is Ghost Lead, he broadcast to the fleet. Commence Operation Reverence. Remember, precision strikes only. Our children are aboard those vessels. The Ghost Fleet moved with impossible grace, their quantum drives allowing them to shift partially out of normal spacetime, making their movements appear to break the laws of physics. To the Zarketh sensors, when they could detect the human ships at all, it looked like they were fighting shadows that could be everywhere and nowhere at once. Aboard the Void Harvester, High Admiral Rentak watched in horror as his support ships began falling silent one by one. The human vessels were using weapons he had never seen before, beams of concentrated dark energy that simply erased portions of his ships from existence, quantum torpedoes that phased through shields as if they weren't there, and worst of all, swarms of microscopic robots that specifically targeted Zarketh crystalline biology while leaving the ship's structures intact. Emergency transmission to all ships, he bellowed. Fall back to secondary positions. These aren't primitives. They're demons. But Maya Chen and her team had been waiting for this order. As the command left his mouth, the compromised communication systems sent out an entirely different message to the Zarketh fleet. Hold position and concentrate fire on these coordinates. The coordinates, naturally, were empty space. In the ship's environmental control center, Raj Patel fine-tuned the atmosphere's crystallization index, making it increasingly difficult for the Zarketh crew to maintain their structural integrity. Their biology is responding exactly as our simulations predicted, he reported through the neural net. Another 15 minutes at these settings, and they'll begin experiencing severe mobility issues. Throughout the nebula, the battle, if it could even be called that, continued with ruthless efficiency. The Ghost Fleet moved like a perfectly choreographed dance troupe, each ship knowing its role in a plan that had been refined over decades. They weren't just fighting to win. They were fighting to send a message that would echo through the galaxy for generations. Admiral Zhang's voice cut through all frequencies, broadcasting simultaneously in every known language. To all species watching this encounter, let this serve as humanity's formal introduction to the galactic community. We have maintained the facade of primitives while we prepared for exactly this moment. Take note of what happens to those who prey upon human children. We will not be victims. We will not be conquered. We are humanity, and we have been waiting patiently for someone to make this mistake." The Zarketh crew watched in despair as their mighty fleet was systematically dismantled by technology that shouldn't exist. Ships they had considered primitive now demonstrated capabilities that seemed like magic, shifting through dimensions at will, appearing inside their formation at impossible angles, striking with weapons that ignored their most advanced defenses. On the bridge of the Void Harvester, Maya finally revealed herself through every screen and holographic projector. Her young face, wearing an expression far too mature for her years, addressed High Admiral Rentak directly. "You should have done your research more carefully, Admiral. Those old stories about humanity being primitive, we wrote them ourselves. Those outdated technical specifications your spies stole, we leaked them deliberately. Those outdated technical specifications your spies stole, we leaked them deliberately. Every piece of intelligence that led you to believe this would be an easy operation was carefully crafted bait, designed to attract exactly the kind of predator you proved to be." She paused, allowing her words to sink in. "But don't worry. You'll have plenty of time to contemplate your mistakes. After all, humanity doesn't believe in needless death. We believe in education. And you're about to become a very public lesson in why the galaxy's civilized species should think twice before threatening human children." As if to punctuate her words, the Ghost Fleet completed its encirclement of the remaining Zarketh ships. The nebula itself seemed to glow with accumulated energy, as humanity's true military might prepare to deliver its final statement to the galaxy at large. Lessons written in stars. 1 month after what historians would later call the Maelstrom Revelation, representatives from every major galactic civilization gathered in Earth's orbital diplomatic station. They came to witness humanity's formal emergence as a power that could no longer be ignored, and to see the fate of those who had dared to threaten human children. The Zarketh High Admiral Rentak stood in the center of the vast chamber, his crystalline form dulled with shame. Behind him, displayed on massive holographic screens, footage played showing how completely his mighty fleet had been dismantled by technology that rewrote the known laws of physics. More damning were the recordings of his own boasts about human primitiveness, juxtaposed with images of their true capabilities. Admiral Helena Zhang addressed the assembled representatives, her voice carrying the weight of centuries of hidden preparation. "For too long, humanity has watched the galaxy's predatory species prey upon those they considered weak. We maintained our facade of technological inferiority not out of fear, but out of strategic necessity. We needed to know who among you would choose to be predators." The chamber remained silent as previously classified files appeared on every diplomat's datapad. Every apparently primitive human colony was a trap, every seemingly vulnerable settlement a sensor platform. We recorded every raid, every attack, every attempt to exploit what you perceived as weakness. And we prepared our children not just to survive such attacks, but to turn them into opportunities for justice. Maya Chen stepped forward, still wearing her neural interface proudly. "We are not the savages you believed us to be," she declared, her young voice steady. "We don't seek vengeance or domination. What we want is simple. A galaxy where children of all species can grow up without fear of being used as pawns in games of power." The Galactic Council's senior speaker, a being of pure energy, moved forward. "The evidence presented is irrefutable. Humanity has demonstrated not just technological superiority, but remarkable restraint. They could have annihilated their attackers, yet chose precision and justice over revenge." High Admiral Rentak's voice quavered as he spoke. We never imagined. Your deception was perfect. Every piece of intelligence, every scan, every interaction suggested a species barely capable of interstellar travel. How long have you possessed these capabilities?" Admiral Zhang's smile was cold. "Long enough to watch 12 different species consider attacking us, then decide against it after analyzing what little they could detect of our true capabilities. The Zarketh Collective simply failed to be as thorough in their intelligence gathering. A fatal mistake in judgment. The punishment, when announced, was appropriately symbolic. The Zarketh Collective would surrender all military vessels and technology. Their worlds would remain their own, but under human supervision. Most importantly, they would dedicate their considerable scientific knowledge to establishing and maintaining a new galactic children's protection protocol, a framework for ensuring that no species' children would ever again be used as leverage in conflicts. As the assembly concluded, Maya joined her father on the observation deck overlooking Earth. Captain Chen put an arm around his daughter's shoulders, watching the sunset paint the atmosphere in shades of gold. "Do you think they finally understand?" Maya asked, her training giving way to simple curiosity. James nodded slowly. "They understand that humanity's greatest strength was never our technology or our deception. It was our patience, our willingness to appear weak until the moment was right to be strong. We didn't just win a battle. We changed how the galaxy will think about conflict and exploitation forever." In the years that followed, humanity emerged fully onto the galactic stage, not as conquerors or victims, but as guardians. Their technology, developed in secret over centuries, revolutionized space travel and defense. But it was their philosophy that left the most lasting impact. The idea that true strength lay not in the ability to dominate, but in the wisdom to know when and how to use power. The warning beacons placed in every sector of known space carried a simple message in all languages. In this galaxy, all children are under humanity's protection. Act accordingly. And in training facilities across Earth and her colonies, new generations of children continued their preparation, not because they feared being victims, but because they had chosen to be protectors. The galaxy had learned its lesson, written not just in stars, but in the indomitable spirit of a species that had transformed its greatest vulnerability into its most powerful strength. The Maelstrom Nebula, site of humanity's revelation, became a monument. Its swirling gases, still bearing traces of the battle, served as a constant reminder. Sometimes the most dangerous thing in the universe is underestimating those you believe to be weak, especially when those apparent weaknesses are actually carefully crafted weapons, waiting for the right moment to reveal their true nature.